Okay, and now go ahead and Cap Kirksey.
Thank you so much, Eric. Aloha and mahalo. Thank you, everyone, for being willing to have this conversation with us. We're really hoping to start to open the lines of communication with all of you in order to disseminate what we think is going to be helpful information to start a conversation about how we can move forward from here. I know that Eric mentioned it, and I'll say it again. It's really difficult for us to even imagine the ways that you've been impacted and what you've all been through over the last couple of days, starting Tuesday night. But so we're here to try to facilitate some clarity. And so the beginning of this, it's kind of a scene setter, and then my hope is that we'll continue to engage with one another so that we can figure out all of the next steps for supporting you and facilitating a smooth resolution over some period of time. So just thank you so much for being here, and I understand we'll do questions at the end, but I do hope that it's somewhat of a conversation also, so that we can meet your needs and give you the type of information that you need. I see some folks kind of leaning in, and I'm curious if we have a decent volume for you, if the comms are okay, if I can get a thumbs up or a thumbs down if it sounds all right. It's just okay, and I got this one. Okay, so we'll be Eric will speak as loudly as possible right here into the mic. But again, thank you all so much. And whenever Eric starts talking, we'll just see if your voice. You talk really loud and fast. So talk loud and slow.
I will talk loud and slow for everybody this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. So thanks, Captain, for your time, and just know that the Coast Guard is here for you and the public of Maui and Hawaii. Right? We live here. These are our hana just the same, and we understand that the impact this has on each and every one of us. It sends chills down the back of my neck, just talking about it and dealing with this. It's a very difficult response for many, many of us, including our first responders on Maui who live there, many of our own coasties who are affected by it just the same. And we really want to know that we are a part of the solution and bringing in the support you need to get past this very troubling time in life. I could say, from day one, it's been a lot. Our main priority from the beginning has been search and rescue, right? We want to do life and limb and saving of individuals, and we have done so. Unfortunately, it hasn't been as great as we wish it could have been, right? It was very tragic. And so for just a few seconds, let's just go ahead and take a moment of silence just to pause and reflect on those who lost their lives, and then we'll begin here in a second. All right, and with that said, so we are now transitioning away from less of the SAR needs. We're still conducting search and rescue efforts as needed. We still have plenty of assets out on scene doing the mission set. So as we have gained access to the site this morning for the first time on land, we are now starting to gain a situational picture of what is actually happening in the harbor, specifically to many of your vessels, in regards to how are we going to recover from the incident. Just for transparency, there was a lot of concerns over the last 2 days, 3 days, really about how safe is it for our first responders to enter the area, and at what point do we do that? The Coast Guard has a plethora of teams that are available to it to really protect first responders in this response era. And so to my left here, you're probably right on the camera, I don't know how it works, but we have Lieutenant Brown from the Pacific Strike Team. His team mobilized starting Tuesday morning to get out here. Due to the complexities of getting out onto Maui and so forth, we were only able to get on scene last night with their team with some air monitoring equipment. That air monitoring equipment is essential for our first responders to determine how many particulates are in the air and really how we can safely respond to the incident. With that said, we did some testing this morning. We got the equipment in place, and we have pretty good confidence that our first responders are in safe conditions right now. We're still operating with N95 masks and respirators out of abundance of caution because unlike most situations when you talk about a fire in a community like Lahaina, sorry, we have a hot mic. But when we talk about a fire in the city of Lahaina, there's a lot of chemicals, there's a lot of hazards associated with industrial buildings, residential buildings, restaurants. All those things all have various chemicals and household goods and things that we don't necessarily think about are toxic, but when they burn, they become, the chemical compound changes, and so there's a lot of differences and things that we need to be careful when we go into a scene like this. And I encourage people to kind of think about the tragedy of 9/11, right? In 9/11, there were so many people that were ready to rush in and help. And if you look at what's happening now with many of those first responders, they're suffering from some acute exposure from, the inhalation that they breathed in, the asbestos and things that is in the air. And we really want to make sure that we protect our first responders and protect you, the public, from those hazards. We don't want 20 years from now to get back into a situation where, we're all having medical problems. We're all suffering from the tragedy even more than we have with the response so far. And I think I don't want to be testifying in front of Congress years from now fighting for care for my first responders, and really kind of, or you, the public, to get that care. That's not something we want to do. So we're taking our time to do this safe. And so I hope that kind of conveys why, the frustration may be there of why you haven't had access to your boats, to your livelihood, to your life, right? And it's tough. I know it. I could see. I've been on countless responses for the Coast Guard, and it's always the same devastation at this point in time. But I promise you, there is a bright light on the future, and we're here to help you get to that bright light, and we're going to work forward to doing that. With that said, I have Commander Williams here to my right, maybe your left. He is the Prevention Department head. You may probably all work with Lieutenant Brian Costina out there at the MSD. He is a fantastic guy. I hope you have open communications with him. I'm sure that's why most of you are here today. So, Brian, I really appreciate your support in reaching out to our counterparts here and getting you all in the conversation today, because I think that is a testament to the relationship that you as professional mariners have and our role as Coast Guard regulators and community members. So thank you, Brian, for your support with that, and please keep those conversations with Brian alive, because those are really, really important conversations there. And Drew as well. Drew, thank you, Drew. So with that said, I'm just going to go into a little PowerPoint here, just to kind of show you what the situation looks like on scene, and then once we're done with this situation on scene, we'll open it up to some questions from everybody and kind of engage. Oh, actually, once I get done with the pictures, I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing next through the weekend, and then the plan going forward on how that plays out, and then we'll take some questions from you. Okay? Anything pressing right now from anybody? All right, excellent. 1 second. Can everybody see the PowerPoint presentation on the screen?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, so this is the first shot that we kind of have there. This is pretty close to the beginning of the incident there. This is what I guess kind of what the current situation was at some point. It was about 2 days ago. This picture was from the 10th. So you can kind of see we have the Atlantis submarine here. We have a couple other vessels that are spread out, and then we have most of the vessels down here. While they look like they have survived, they have some fire damage and some stuff as well in regards to that impact. What you can't see is all the boats that are missing here, and the reason is we have done some scanning with our side scan sonar and with our ROV, and there are a multitude of boats all under the harbor here. So with that said, there are extreme hazards in this marina. Any boat that can go in there has the potential to collide with another vessel that's underwater. The depth, is about 2.7 fathoms, but many of these vessels have superstructures that protrude up, and so your draft may not be good enough to get through there and safely navigate. That is the reason why we have the safety zone in place. Right, and I know the safety zone is larger than the marina right now. That's because we have boats on the outside of the harbor as well. And so until we can completely concur that there aren't any hazards of navigation all around the surrounding area, then we cannot, move past that safety zone in that regard. So we understand the frustration that you want to get in with a boat if you can't get in by land, but there are definitely dangers by sea just as much as there are by land. And so that is a little bit of the justification of why we have the safety zone in place. As you can see, this is the current safety zone we have right now. We are actively monitoring what's effective and what's not. We have talked to many stakeholders who are looking to deliver goods and services into the community because we know you're affected, and we've made adjustments to that safety zone because of that, right? So I think Black Rock Beach is one of those places where we were looking to, some of our partners there asked us to be able to use so they can get goods and services in. So we've made those adjustments. As we assess and as we can adjust, we will, right? And so this is not a constant, this is where you can't go. This is a today snapshot moment, and we will communicate always when that changes. The best place to find communication for that is the Coast Guard home port page. You can just go into Google and type in U.S. Coast Guard home port. The Honolulu Captain of the Port Zone is our zone, and all of our messaging goes out there on the home port webpage. So anytime we change the safety zone, we'll broadcast it on broadcast notes to mariners, just the same. But anytime that's going to be changed, it'll always go through home port, U.S. Coast Guard home port on Google. Really quick to find. It'll be the first link you click. Yep. And with that said, we do not control access to the land, right? That is a county and city-county of Maui. We have no authority to restrict or to allow individuals to come through that area. So any requests from anybody who wants to get through there to go check on their vessel or begin operations to kind of salvage their vessel does not come through the Coast Guard. It goes through the city and county EOC. So we encourage you, if you have those requests, that's who you would go to. But I want to just circle back to that safety aspect, and is what you're doing, is this rush essential to risking your life for, right? Just think about that. That's what you're going to be doing going into that hazard zone. There are so many hazards still in that region. So really think about, is your boat, which is underwater more likely, worth the risk to your life? Really, really think about that when you're making decisions going forward, because that's what we're trying to prevent, right? More loss of life. We're trying to prevent that from happening. And we need your community to really kind of respect the things we put in place for safety, both from the county and city and from the Coast Guard as well. So that kind of just, hopefully that sits there. Just for your awareness too, as operators, we are operating out of Station Maui for most of our operations, but we encourage you, if you have concerns and questions, please, at the end of the meeting, we'll have an email for you to reach out to, and then also through Brian Christina's office, right? We don't want to inundate the Station Maui with a bunch of things. They're working on the search and rescue, they're working on the safety zone enforcement, they're working on a plethora of things down there. So if you have concerns and questions, we just ask that you please reach out to the email or to Brian's office, and we will make sure that those requests are fielded. Make sense? So this is just a snapshot of what our current assets are on scene. So we have Air Station Barbers Point helicopters, both 65 Dolphins and the C-130Js, all conducting search and rescue efforts and transportation lifts and movement over to Maui. Coast Guard Station Maui has a 45-foot motor lifeboat that is operating in the region to conduct search and rescue and also various operations. The Pacific Strike Team is here, along with our Air International Incident Management Team. They're basically surge teams that we at the sector, at the Hawaii local region, can surge into the region to help support these large-scale incidents. They're masters of their art. This is what they do for a living. They travel the world, helping communities recover from disasters just like this. So these are the best of the best people in our organization that are here to help us get through this. Not to say that we're not the best of the best here in Hawaii, but it's always good to have some fresh faces that do this on a day-to-day basis, right? So we're pretty good, Captain and I, and Commander. All right. With that said, Coast Guard Cutter Juniper is out there. They just did a transfer of 2 of our boats from Hawaii over to to Maui. So those boats will be in the zone operating some more. So in addition to NOAA, our partners in NOAA have been supporting us with a platform. Maritime Safety Security Team Honolulu is a tactical law enforcement unit that we have that is enforcing the safety zone out there. They're not there to do law enforcement. They're there to protect people from getting into the safety zone, right? We're not there to drop the hammer and do boardings. We don't want to do that. We're here to just protect people and make sure they're safe. That doesn't mean that we don't have the authority to enforce, boating safety laws, but we hope that as boating community that you're going to be respectful of what we have and go from there. So please, please, please spread that word around the community that we're there to help and we're not there to do law enforcement boarding, but we're there, but we do enforce the safety zone with the laws at hand. Regional Dive Locker West, so that is our dive locker team. They come from the San Diego. We also have a locker here in Hawaii. They are our Coast Guard divers, which they operate side scan sonar. If you don't know what side scan sonar is, it's basically a tool that we tow behind the boat to scan the bottom of the ocean. And that lets us know if there's a boat that's under the water there. If we find an anomaly, we can send a ROV. We have a submersible craft that we can drop below the water with camera footage and claw arms, and we can actually manipulate things to determine what it is that's under the water. So we had actively done the outer harbor yesterday with that side scan sonar. We found no anomalies and no major discrepancies in the main channel, but we still have quite a few places off that main channel to figure out. So with that said, that's why the safety zone still sits the way it does. And as we get those updated imagery and things like that, we'll share those publicly with you so you can see where things are safe to transit and stuff like that once the safety zone reduces in better picture. And that's all the data that we use to keep that safety zone where it belongs, right? And that's one of the tools we have. And then with that said, we've also opened the Oil Spill Liability Trust Fund to hire an OSRO oil spill response organization, Sea Engineer. Sea Engineer is there to just do initial stabilization of the scene. They're there to collect some of the oil and things that are on the water, and they've also deployed some boom just to kind of protect the harbor from stuff from getting out of the harbor and impacting potentially our reefs and things outside. With that, this is a collaboration of a multitude of different entities going forward, and once we get done with those pictures, I'll talk about who those partnerships are and how those partnerships are going to play out in the future with this in regards to the response. So here's another image of the impact to the marina. Not only do we have boats in this entire area, we also have quite a couple boats that are underwater in these areas as well. So as safe as that looks to be able to transit up to that slip, it's actually not. There's a couple larger vessels that are underwater there, and so that's why the restriction still sits. Go ahead and go to the next picture there. This is just that same picture on this side. Oh, and then a reflection from the other angle to the back side there.
Are you guys getting pictures? I'm still stuck with the
No, I'm still on the outline of all the different.
boats.
Yeah.
Let me reboot it. Give me a second. Don't read my emails. I've been busy. Let's see. How about now? Good?
No.
Same.
Okay. All right, give me 1 second. We're only as good as the technology that's provided to us. Apologize. I think that's why. Hang on, my internet is disconnected. Firewalls. Give me 1 second. You'll reconnect in 1 second. This is why we called in on a phone too, so we won't lose you vocally.
Mm-hmm.
How are we looking now?
Got it.
Awesome. Sorry about the disturbance, technology. So, like I said, this is the beginning. This is the marina from aerial observation that we had today. Pretty much, you can see while this looks like right here the embarkation pier for the cruise line there that you guys all know. While it looks like that is an accessible location, there are a couple vessels that are underwater near there. So not every vessel stayed within the harbor as we'll look here in a minute.
Did they see the previous slide?
Yeah, I think they saw this one. You guys saw the Coast Guard assets, correct?
Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
saw the
No,
estimate.
I got it. Keep going. You're doing it
Yep.
all over again. Thank you. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, we have hazards all throughout the harbor, a little bit of light sheening still. Nothing looks recoverable in that regard, but that's why we wanted the air monitoring out. We wanted to make sure that, any of those volatile chemicals were not going to impact our responders prior to getting in there and doing assessment. This is that same picture on the left, but on the right is just from another angle facing the other direction. As you can see, not only in the harbor is there devastation, it's the whole community, and it's just devastating to see this stuff. So, I know these pictures are going to be, tough to look at, but just know that we want to be transparent with you what the situation is, and I think that you guys deserve to see these photos because your vessels are impacted by this, and we really want to make sure that you understand the gravity of why we're making these decisions that we are going forward. Here we can see a couple of the vessels still in the marina there. A couple of them still floating, but they still have extensive fire damage to them and extensive, and some of them are not even moored up to anything. So our team is going in there this weekend. Throughout the weekend, we'll be stabilizing the situation. Any vessels that could be moored off to any of those pilings will be moored off, and then we'll do our assessments, continue our assessments to determine what vessels are underwater. That ROV that I was talking about is super capable, great quality imagery. I tried to get some for this meeting today, but unfortunately with the connectivity out there in the region and just getting it back here in time for the meeting, it just wasn't possible. But we will be sharing those images with you as we go forward, as we identify boats and talk about, if you have registration numbers, what boats your is, where in the harbor your boat might be. Those are all things we're going to be working with you in the future with to identify. So just know that this is just the beginning of our relationship and the conversation. But for now, that's what our intention is to do, is to scan the entire harbor with the ROV, get good imagery of what your boats are doing, and if they're burnt or if they're not, if they're salvageable, those things like that. Here's a larger view outside the harbor there. This was a little bit, you can see, sorry, I'm a little further away from the picture there, but yeah, this is pretty much another angle from the marina. And there's a few close-ups of just, if you could look at the top of the water, tons of debris within the water. So when we do an overflight, you can't see these things. You can't see all the hazards that are in the water. So, even more so, please try not to get there at nighttime. I know at nighttime it may be like an opportunity that you might think that the law enforcement's not there, but law enforcement is there 24/7. In addition to that, there are extreme hazards in the water, and the last thing we want to do is to have a SAR case and have another response in regards to SAR trying to save lives because we were trying to save property. And this is just some of the mitigation factors we put in place today. So we have a harbor boom at the end of the harbor right now, just kind of keeping some of the pollution from getting out into the harbor. The reason we keep it open like this is because we've consulted with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, NOAA, National Fisheries, and our partners with the Scientific Support Coordinator. If we enclose the entire marina, there's potential to impact endangered species like the sea turtles. So we have consulted with that, our experts, our scientists, and when we develop a strategy, the reason we keep it open in that corner is to kind of allow those endangered species to continue to move in and out freely so we don't disrupt their behavior and we don't cause any harm to them in the process. Obviously, with any action the federal government takes, we don't want to cause more harm to the environment that has already been done. Our job is to improve the situation of what we have, and that's why we've done that here today with the booming strategy. And then we'll go ahead. First, before I go to that, let me introduce Lieutenant Brown to speak a little bit about what our plan is going forward and kind of the conversations we're going to have come Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, and beyond.
Thank you, Mr. Juback. Again, I'm Strike Team. Me and my team just got here yesterday, and we've begun setting up air monitors to monitor the particulates in the airs, as well as any volatile organic compounds, some nasty stuff that we haven't found as of now, and we hope not to. And throughout the weekend, we're going to continue monitoring for that, as well as using our ROV with the MIST team and our side scan radar to determine what kind of hazards are inside that marina and when it is safe to open it. One of our top priorities is allowing y'all to come in there with your insurance companies, however you plan to get it out. And so you can assess the shape of your vessel, and plan for in the future what you hope to do with it. We'll see when that plans to happen, shooting for end of day Sunday to have those assessments complete, but that's not confirmed. If you haven't done so already, please contact your insurance company so they can line up some resources to get involved and get those boats out of there as soon as safely practicable. Thank you.
All right, gonna go ahead and just put that screen up one more time that, for the contact, or I'll do that at the end of the meeting. Let's go ahead and open it up for some open discussion first, and then we'll put the email address up at the end of the meeting so everybody can copy it down. So if you could just raise your hands, and then we'll call on you, and go from there. I got a hand here from, Heidi. I guess we'll go ahead and go with you first.
Hi, I have a couple of questions. One, are you going to tell us if you moor up any boats, or do we just have to look on the news and see a photo and assume it was done?
So our intention is not to move or salvage any boats at this time. The only way we would do anything to a boat is to stabilize it in terms of keeping it from floating out of the harbor. Yesterday, the Atlanta sub, because we didn't have access to get in there yet because it wasn't safe, drifted out of the harbor and ended up on the reef just outside the harbor there. So we don't want that to happen again with the other vessels. So the only thing we'll really do is document that. We've got to do a little bit better job of getting probably a way to get information out of what actions we actually take at the end of the day. So we'll probably include, I don't know, I promise you we'll take that for action and how we can get maybe a page on the home port or something like that we can put updates of when we've tied off a boat or we've secured a boat to make sure it's not floating away and from where it's at. But we are not listing any boats. We're not removing any boats. All we're doing is just stabilizing the scene so we can get a better assessment.
That's what I meant. If you take my boat's drifting, I want to secure it. If you guys secure it up, I would love to know, hey, we got a line on it. I'm not saying it's going to last forever, but just want to know because we have no idea. And always the threat was we're going to go on the reef. And I don't understand where the boom took 3 days to get up there, but it's not to protect boats, just very, very contaminated animals. We don't want to secure the harbor so that boats can't get out, the few that are in there, and but because of the animals that are very sick at this point if they're in that water.
So we're responsible for adhering to the Endangered Species Act, right? And so I'm not saying that the boom is there to protect your boats. We know that those are a harbor problem, but the boom is not. It's not going to stop the boats from getting out. We understand that.
Right.
So our stabilization is to get in there and tie off boats. So we will notify you if one is done. That is our stabilization, right? So that's going to happen. And so our team went out there today. They had their first assessment. We had to go slow bell. We couldn't get any lines on, but we have ropes and stuff available for tomorrow's assessments. So tomorrow will probably be a larger day for that happening. And after we have all your contact information here today, your phone numbers, your boat number, what your boat name is, we will reach out to you specifically in the interim to let you know that we've tied that boat off.
And ma'am, the purpose of the boom is there to contain any oil that was on the boats or any other liquid hazardous substances that are in the water. To keep it inside the marina and not getting out to the ocean.
Yeah, I'm surprised that wasn't done day one and is only up today. But that,
unfortunately, it's because we couldn't get close enough for the air quality, right? We don't want our first responders to be in there.
You can't drop it from.
No, you have to tie it off the shore. It's got to be secured on both ends of the shore, otherwise it doesn't work. Yeah.
Okay. I have another question about you guys' access. When we were in grade school, we were taught that it's the mayor, the governor, the president, and I guess we're seeing the same as COVID. Is it not what we I'm over 40 now, so it's been a long time since I went to school. The federal is not above the county, especially you got a guy elected who might have had a job, doing something great, but it has nothing to do with crisis management, and then you have professional federal teams, part of the military. How would you guys or anything federal not be cooperate and work with other agencies, but who I thought had less authority than you guys? And maybe I haven't been in school in a long time. Maybe that is not the system. Aren't we told it's you guys first, then state, then county?
Heidi, is there a specific action that you're referencing as you kind of try to think about this hierarchy? Is there a specific example you can give? Is it about access? Is that what you're concerned about?
Well, if you guys aren't allowed to have access through the land, it's
Right.
not like you guys with your cell phone going on YouTube. You're professional Coast Guard agency. That makes no sense to us. And so maybe just hearing it. So we're just like with COVID, where we have a Coast Guard vessel and they wouldn't let us go down the road because we didn't live in Lahaina. And we're like, I have a vessel that I have to make sure is maintained. And at any point it has to leave. There's a tidal wave. I got to go take it out. I can't think of the word, tsunami. I need to take care of it. So we were told, no, county is in charge. And even with the masks, Coast Guard said, you got to defer to county. So with this, we would love it if you guys, because we respect your experience more, if you guys had the authority to say to the police, we're going to work with you, but you don't tell us what to do.
For our access or for your access?
For yours. I get,
okay,
we're regular people.
So we have the access that we need. Safety is my biggest concern for my teams whenever it comes to access. And so where we have needed to access the land, we have been able to for the missions that we've prioritized.
And the holdup was the air monitoring this morning. That did not get in place till this morning. And so our responders could not go on shoreside because that air monitoring was not in place, if that makes sense.
And this is Commander Williams. I just want to reiterate, just to piggyback off of what Captain and Eric is saying right here. The reason why our folks couldn't get on there is because the folks that we had on island organically did not have the proper respirators to put on to access the land to initiate the air testing. And so the folks that we flew in had the air monitoring equipment. They had the proper respirators to wear to set it up, and that's why we're at day 3 right now, putting this stuff into place so we can get a better assessment of what's going on, so more resources, more of Coast Guard personnel can go there in a safe manner.
Why can't we get to Mala? Now, this is not about our boats. This is about all of our crew members who lost their homes and are stranded without gas in their cars for 3 days. Why can't we get our skiffs, or even take one of the bigger boats close and into a smaller boat and go to Mala, a ramp that is okay, and get supplies to this is all human. This is about humans, not boats now. Why can't we go to Mala?
Just a question for you. When it comes to, and this is where we're talking about jurisdiction, yeah? As far as the water side versus the land side, are those roads to Mala accessible from Maui PD? I don't know if you know the answer to that or not, but we were just told from Maui PD that those roads are not accessible, and we were creating such a that there's a situation there that is not ready to be
right. So we have actually, this isn't the first time we've received this request, and each time we're trying so hard to support the request, because what I understand is that there are people in need in Lahaina with closed roads who, if anyone is willing to safely get whatever is needed into Lahaina, that is a necessity. And so each time we get that request to go into the safety zone, I'm asking, can we do it safely? And if they get there, then let's lash up with our partners and make sure that whenever they get there, they can be received. And so we've been working through those requests. If you feel like you've made a request and it wasn't heard, please continue to communicate that to the Coast Guard team here, because we're not trying to make it any worse than it is, right? So there's a balance here, but my hope is that it comes across. We're trying to do it as safely as possible. So if there is a vessel arriving at Maui Wharf, that draws a crowd or a number of people, in an unsafe way, because I've let them in and I haven't had an opportunity to coordinate with Maui PD to ensure that, they can manage that situation on the land side, then I'm not being a good partner with our county partner. And so I still need to work with them, and I think you've also seen how the communication, it does take a little bit of time to make sure that we lash up with them, and whenever we aren't fully aligned, we can really add to the stress that Maui PD and the other first responders are still actively experiencing. And so there's a balance, but my intent is to not impede, but to facilitate the flow of whatever is needed into Lahaina, to Maui Wharf, to whatever areas we can identify that are best. When the road was closed, it was difficult for us to understand how that was going to work, except that I also came to understand there are people still there, road closed or not. So I think I'm being truthful when I say we're still working through that. However, I sense your frustration, and so I feel like we're maybe not getting all of the requests done quickly enough, or hearing them necessarily directly from the people who are attempting to request them.
Well, when you guys put up that safety perimeter, we totally get that Lahaina Harbor is unsafe for vessels and for people, but the line goes way north. So if the police open the road, will you guys open the safety perimeter so the boats can get in? Because we see it, you guys are in Honolulu, you have it a little bit smoother than we do on Maui, how behind, backward, uncommunicative, and uncooperative, they don't work with each other, the county and the state and federal, so that they wouldn't maybe tell, like, are you saying, hey, here's my number, you call me as soon as you want that, so that we can get these supplies over to them and get the smaller boats?
So when those decisions are made, we are fully embedded in every EOC. So we're in the Maui County EOC with Coast Guard members. You may know Lieutenant Dylan McCall. He's a local there from Maui. He is in that EOC every day, listening on your behalf to what they're doing and immediately communicating that back us to the Coast Guard so we can collaborate at that same moment.
Okay.
Knowing that Mala'a Harbor is a piece, I think we can take this back to and put the side scan sonar up there just to assume just to make sure that area is clear. So when that is cleared by the PD and those roads are open, there's nothing we're waiting for to have that pier open up if it's safe to do so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Thanks for your questions. I think we can go to, is there anyone else with a hand raised or?
I'd like to ask a question. This is Dana Howarth with Lahaina Divers. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify. It sounds like by Sunday you'll have some assessment of when we can get in there with our insurance companies. Are we going to need to get permission so that we don't get turned away from MPD or any other security?
So we're not certain that Sunday is going to be that final determination. It depends on how the assessments go through the week. In addition to, and you may have heard this on the news, quite a few people ran towards the water, right, in regards to finding safety. And so,
right.
As we do assessments, we may come across things that, unfortunately we'll have to deal with. So we can't make speculation that it will be done by Sunday. I can promise you that we will coordinate with Maui County and the insurance adjusters who come out and make assessments. We will develop a safe, coordinated plan that most insurance companies, how this kind of works is they collaborate together and they hire one contractor to kind of come out and do the salvage assessment. So that's already happening behind the scenes. You probably may not even know that. But so they have already reached out to us to kind of talk about that idea of when they can get in there to kind of do their own assessments and claims, because every insurance company has to do a claims, assessment before they release claims. So with that said, we are having those conversations with many of those people already, but I can't guarantee that it will be Saturday or Sunday or Monday, right? We're not going to put a timeline on that, but what I can promise you is that we will communicate when we're ready to have that assessment done and who can attend those assessments safely, and we will coordinate that with the city and county of Maui so that access is granted to your representatives who represent you, right?
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for that clarification.
Looks like I got Peter Colombo.
Yes, and sorry, it's his wife Tony on here as well. Mike, I just wanted to more clarification on that last question was, so you're saying that it's going to be communicated with the county when that's available, but the county doesn't communicate with us right now. So how do I tell my insurance assessor who I spoke with earlier today, because she wanted me to ask these specific questions to you guys, how she's going to find out? Does she need to contact someone specific at the county or you guys, or I am like the mediator? Just some clarification on that would be great.
Yes, ma'am. This is Commander Williams, Provisions Department Head, and I see Brian as well as Drew online, the local Marine Safety team there. Since you all have a relationship with that office there, I'd ask you to go through his office,
Okay.
whether it be Brian. Just communicate with him. He'll get us
I will
in
bug
contact.
Drew and Brian then. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Anybody else? You guys have nothing else for us? Come on, somebody's got to have a question for us, right?
I'd want to say thank you. I'm not used to Coast Guard doing this kind of thing. Thank you. We appreciate you guys filling us in, since we've got so much loss. Seeing our boats on the news instead of in person or even a shot from any helicopters sucks, but we realize that's not the most important. It's humans, then boats, and then, in my opinion, the fish. But so thank you for talking to us.
And for us, it's all of it, right? No one, like, human life is definitely the most important, but we want to restore the natural environment. We want to keep it pristine. We love Hawaii. We love it just as much as everybody else, right? So, that is why we don't want to cut corners and skip things, because these practices are in place because they work. This is how we return Hawaii back to what Hawaii is. And if we cut corners and we skip things, we end up with a devastated ecosystem. We ended up with loss of fish habitat. We end up with damaged corals. These are all things that are essential to the success of Hawaii and the life of Hawaii and our cultures. So, and remind you that, and I don't have to remind you, you all know, Lahaina is probably one of the most culturally sensitive locations in all of Hawaii, the home of the monarchy. So, to me, like, there's even more at stake at this. So we really want to make sure that we respect that and we treat that going forward with that due respect.
I have a question about what you just said, and I'm not blaming anyone, but we could see the footage with a Coast Guard boat at the face of the loading dock and doe care standing there, I guess patrolling. And when the Atlanta submarine was in the northeast corner, clearly not attached to anything, why wouldn't, to protect the reef, because that boat's not going to break, the reef will break, why wouldn't somebody get some lines, take an anchor, because it was touching the cement. It wasn't, you didn't have to reach it.
Yeah, because we were on at the same time that was occurring. I was dealing with Atlanta Submarines, representatives from Atlanta Submarines, and as much as I wish that we've made a decision, we do our best to train our crews and respond the best possible way. That's on us on leadership and guidance, right? At the same time, we need to do better by our crews to take action and empower them to take action to do something. Because again, like you said, we're in Oahu, so we don't have the instantaneously understanding of what's happening, that delay and that stuff, and so we will do better by that, and that's part of the reason that we're here tonight, to do better, to understand what your needs are tonight, because we're going to make mistakes in this. This is a dynamic situation that nobody could prevent. It just happened instantaneously. I think it was less than an hour. The entire town was fully engulfed in fire, right? And yes, we're gonna make mistakes in this response. There's no doubt about it. We're all human, and it's not to say that we're using that as an excuse, but I mean, we own that one, right? We probably could have done better by that one, but I can't say why the boat crew did or didn't do that. Maybe they didn't feel safe. Maybe they felt obligations, but we'll get back to that one on our side.
I think of the other boats that were touched, like mine. I see the Samson post there. I obviously my ropes all burned away at the dock box, but I would assume the Coast Guard and DoCare have lines, and they could have thrown there, and we would even be able to tell you with the video and FaceTime, move a little bit of rubble, and you've got a secure anchor. We know where all the anchor points were at the harbor. The fact that people in Honolulu would make decisions for us and not call us even just to get advice is so. Thank you for doing this, and we beg you, ask any one of us, and we'll be like, that someone is usually at that part of the harbor, or they know this boat, and ask us, because we have nothing else to do. We're not working, so we'll help you and tell whatever team member it is there something to help out. I know every single person on this call would do that.
And that's how we treat all environmental stuff, and we just, with the magnitude of SAR and everything that was coming along, it just didn't unfold in a timely manner like it could have been. And so, we're here now, and we're here to tell you that going forward, we are actively, you are active participants in this response. You are active participants in the effective recovery of Lahaina Harbor, right? So we value everything you have to say, and we value every idea you have that we can bring forward to really restore the harbor.
You have another question?
Yeah.
Two more. There's two hands up, and then I also just saw a finger. So we'll go in the order that we received them, because I think Dana's hand got back up. Is that correct, Dana? Or Peter, if it's...
I think Peter, you came back up, yeah? Or, sorry, yeah, Daniel.
Or I think...
Miss Colombo? Oh, I think we just
Okay,
lost it.
great. Then we'll go to...
Sorry, that was an error.
Okay.
Okay, great. No worries. And then the next one was Alyssa. Alyssa, go ahead. Okay, Alyssa's also Dr. Hand. So did I see Trilogy?
I'll just back up.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I was on.
Go ahead. Yes, you were on mute. Go ahead, Alyssa.
Along the same lines as Heidi's comments, if there's an opportunity to secure a vessel, making that a priority. We received a call today from Dobor about one of our vessels, Ocean Legacy, that was stuck on the reef and is, burned to the water, that it was drifting towards a culturally sensitive site. And we want to make every effort we can to make sure that it does not drift any further and end up on that culturally sensitive site. So if there's somebody I can speak to make sure there's an effort being done to do that and make it a priority, I would love to connect. I also really want to say thank you for the communication. Every time I've reached out to the Coast Guard over the last few days, I've been getting really prompt response. So that's really appreciated.
Okay, Alyssa, we'll take that and we'll work with you and DoCare and get you some good, and we'll that's going to need to be a high priority also. Thank you for bringing that up. I wish we had something else we could say right now, but we're going to have to take that and get back to you.
I can tell you right now, too, just because we're in front of the camera, there's an entire room full of coasties all listening to this exact conversation, and they're all developing plans how to respond to this. So, those are the things we want to hear so we can take action on those things.
Can we go to Trilogy? Thank you, Alyssa. Sorry, thank you. I think Trilogy, are you trying to raise your hand sometimes? And then I'm going to give you, please.
Yeah, I just say thank you to all you guys, because we were out with you on Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning off Lahaina. Obviously just horrific conditions, but you guys did an amazing job. Along with DoCare, DLNR, everybody was out there. Super tough times, but I just want to thank all you guys for doing everything you can.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Yeah, we're so proud of the crews there at Station Maui, MST Maui, and the rest of the teams that have been supporting them. Thank you.
And just to echo what you just said, I appreciate Brian and Drew reaching out to you all, and you guys at a moment's notice, the folks that did respond that were capable of responding. We appreciate you all putting yourselves at risk and lending a helping hand. So it was plenty of you that came out. I can't name you all by name, but I greatly appreciate you guys and just being a help to the community as well. So thank you very much.
Deputies remind me there were eight different Good Samaritan vessels that supported the response on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So thank you.
Looks like Mark, you got a question, Mark?
I just want to thank you guys for having this meeting and everything, so we can get some information. I'm a marine surveyor based on Oahu, but I've been contacted by multiple insurance companies. I probably have at least 13, maybe 14 boats that we've got to do. And I just would like to know, is there any way that we can expedite the marine surveyors and the adjusters and the people to get over there and start doing these assessments so that the insurance companies can react? And I mean, it's a wreck removal. We don't need to call it a salvage. We don't need to call it a recovery. We call it a wreck removal. So it's just something that the surveyors got to come over and identify the vessels. They got to, work with a salvage company to get the vessels, pulled out of the harbor and disposed of. And the sooner we can do that, the better, because we don't want any more of them going out of the harbor and going on the reefs and stuff.
Yes, sir. And absolutely. We plan to talk with the EOC over there in Maui and get those adjusters access as soon as we safely can. We're going to keep doing our air monitoring, but those are going to be some of the first folks out there to do their assessments and get a plan together about how we're going to do this operation.
Yeah, I talked with Chris Lindbergh today, and he said that, he was going to try and get the guys on Sea Engineering to put a line on Reef Dancer, and which is one of the ones that I'm working with and with Heidi's boat. And we just, we obviously want to be safe. We don't want anybody to get, their lungs ruined or anything, but we also know that the wind's pretty, the trades blow the air pretty fast around there, and we should be able to get in there fairly soon, I would think.
And I just want to touch on that point too, in regards to going forward. DLNR is actually on the call here today, Mr. Underwood. Mr. Underwood, you want to speak a little bit on behalf of the DLNR on how things are from your perception and the state?
Sure. We've been working very closely with the Coast Guard on this. We also have not been able to get on site. We're going to try to get there next week. We're asking the Incident Command Center for Maui County for permission to access the site. So they're the ones that basically run the show during an incident like this. We know of at least 3 salvagers that are ready to start operations. So once we get clearance, they can begin. We're going to be looking at the fast lands, the hard land, and the harbor, because we're going to probably have 3 different contractors working, removing vessels, using the loading dock or that small launch ramp that's there. They're going to be bringing up vessels from there, possibly craning them out as well. We were just beginning to start construction on repairing the entire inner marginal wharf for the harbor. That was going to begin on September 5th. In fact, the docks have already been built. They were going to be installed. So once we were able to clear the harbor of any debris in the water, then Sea Engineering is actually the hired contractor. They'll be able to begin rebuilding the piers right away, at least on the inside.
There's so much space now because there's no businesses and no houses other than the berthing rock. Are we going to set up a, not really salvage, but an area at the harbor so that the cranes, the trucks can take it, haul off our boats to the dumpster and get some designated space that it's not bothering anybody's business or it's not interfering with a noise because there's no homes there anymore. We've got space there all along the east part of the harbor. Are we going to set up a zone for all of these salvage companies on the land side where it's cheaper to get rid of the boats that way? Or are they considering that?
Yes, that's part of our site visit when we come down.
Okay, thanks.
Mark, did you have another question?
Thank you so much, Ed. Thank you for saying all that. We appreciate it also. Thank you.
Sorry. Thanks, Eddie. I appreciate you letting us know that we're going to be doing it from the land side. Much more economical.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll work with all the boaters. We've been having a lot of calls with people that want to come into the harbor to use. I'm very surprised the ferry pier made it. We're very happy about that. And they want to bring supplies in, and we're trying to tell people it's too soon. You can't come into the harbor yet. It's dangerous. We have a lot of politicians calling us that want us to get the boats in. So um, we're doing our best. We're working in conjunction with the Coast Guard, so we will be working together on that. Maui, small boat harbor. You may have heard that we impounded a boat a couple weeks ago, and somebody set it ablaze in the harbor in Maui, and it sunk. It happened to have sunk at the ferry pier. So that's been cleared out now, so the ferry operations can resume there um, in Maui. And the bottom of the harbor office, the ferry pier waiting area is also being used as a staging area. So once the harbor reopens, we're hoping that we can clear quickly and get the ferry pier back to operational so we can start using it as a hub while we do the cleanup as well as rebuild those inner marginal wharf docks.
Are they gonna let other boats use our slips? And will we have any issues later putting vessels back in our slips because someone feels they've been there for 6 months or a year, however long it takes us to get a new vessel? Sorry, Coast Guard.
Well, we're inventorying all the slips now. We're putting together who had what slip, what boat was in that slip, what size. We're putting a hold on all billing. We will not be sending out any billings. If your permits are coming up for expiration, we are not canceling any permits. We're just going to let them run. So when we get to the point where we can start reassigning slips, we're going to go back to that list, and every person on that list will be offered their berth back first. So, first, and then if for some reason they choose not to, we will go off of the list with all the boaters that were in the harbor before we move to a wait list.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think Ryan had a question there. Ryan?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that clarification, Ed. First of all, the grim gravity of the situation and the ongoing safety concerns are quite clear on our end. But as long as we're talking about the slips and the finger piers and stuff, would there be an opportunity to improve the design, like to account for sea level rise, because our piers were going underwater previously, things like that?
That's one of the things we're talking about with our engineer, because when the ferry pier was designed as a fixed pier, it was designed with sea level rise in mind, but at low tide, it's a pretty big step up to get up onto the pier. So we're considering the consultant's going to be asked to design an option for floating docks. So where all those fixed piers were on the front row, instead of putting those back, we may put, we're swaying more towards floating docks and possibly using the piles as the anchor points for those floating docks.
Yeah.
So yes, we are considering different options this next go around.
All right, thank you.
Sure, and we already have the design build plans for the outer marginal wharf because Sea Engineering is who constructed that as well. So it may be, if we stick with those, we can get the outer marginal wharf built much quicker since we already have plans and all in place. We've already been in contact with the Army Corps of Engineers to see if since we're just basically putting the dock back on and we're not doing any in-water work, we may not need the approvals, all of the approvals from the Army Corps of Engineers. So it could expedite the project.
Roger that. Thank you.
Thanks again, Ed. I'm so glad we've had this opportunity to kind of have some of those additional questions that we wouldn't have been able to field. There's really no time limit on this, except it's your time. So if there are any other questions or anything in the chat, we'll just check that too quickly to see if there's anybody who has a preference for writing something in the chat, but I don't see anything. So thank you for those questions.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, my name's
Sure.
Kayal. I work with Mackay Adventures. My name's Kayal. I work with Mackay Adventures. I
Kayal.
would love floating docks. I think that'd be really cool. But we all kind of saw what happened to the floating dock at 99. I don't know if the design would be different, but I just want to keep that in mind, that the surge in Lahaina Harbor during the south swell and big north swells destroyed slip 99. So I just want to kind of bring that up and make sure that's touched on.
We would have to have good pilings.
Well, our engineer is aware of that, and they are actually already talking about that particular floating dock.
Awesome,
And
thank you.
our tides are so much smaller differentials than other parts of the world. So I would think we don't have to figure it out ourselves. We just look at successful marinas where they have a bigger tide difference and more surge, and we copy what works and we don't copy what doesn't. And it seems like we don't have to try and go, oh, let's keep doing something that's not working. Hopefully they're going to, I'm sorry, Coast Guard, this is probably, it's not your problem, but since DLNR is here, we hope that it's being researched. We'd be willing to do it for DLNR. Find the marinas that are so successful, let alone beautiful and safe and efficient. The safer our harbor is and more efficient, the more money we can bring in for the state. We just got to get a little tiny bit put back in, and we've been taking care of it. Each of these boat operators has on their own, I guess been sneaking to make sure the harbor is safe. So Mr. Underwood, I beg that when we redo the harbor, we make it as good as we can and copy all of the excellent things that are already happening in other places as the weather has changed, or that they already had more severe weather than we ever did.
Yeah, we have been using floating dock systems statewide for years now. So as we move forward in accounting for sea level rise, that's one of the things we're doing, is moving more towards the floating dock systems. We have floating docks in Haleiwa Harbor on the north shore of Oahu that takes those large north swells every year, and it's been operating fine. So we can address the small floating dock that was out on the end of the outer marginal wharf. That shouldn't be a problem at all to deal with.
Okay, great. Yeah, as long as we know that's being a complete address for the instant new harbor we're going to get. That's what we're asking for.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I saw Dana's hand went up and back down again, so it's down now, I think. I did want to, seeing no questions right now, I did want to give any other state partners who are online an opportunity to speak. I actually don't know of any others, but because of the phone numbers, not entirely sure. So I know we invited our Department of Health State On-Scene Coordinator, Liz Galvez. And Liz, if you are on and you'd like to say anything, I'll pause now and turn it over to you. Okay, nothing heard there. But the important thing I think to know, maybe if it's helpful to you, is Liz is my state counterpart as the federal on-scene coordinator, as she's the state on-scene coordinator, and we're working closely on for environmental protection and response there too. Any other state partners online that would like to speak? Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Just making sure. Okay, can I turn it back over to you for whatever you had next?
Yeah, well, just making sure there's no other things to speak up, and I'm gonna pull up the PowerPoint with the email address on there. And again, you can get the same email address from Lieutenant Christina at the MST there, as well as any time you need to get a hold of an emergency, you have something you just have on your mind and you need to get off your chest, please give him a call, give Wade a call. Give an email to this CITL email, so we will take it for action. We have somebody monitoring this email 24/7. We have team's ready to, we're working 24/7. So please, don't keep your concerns inside. Voice them to us. We're here to listen and do our best to take action on them. And again, we just need, just remember that it's a volatile situation. So we'll do our best to accommodate, but we can't guarantee that that's going to be taken immediately, right?
What is that email address again?
Yeah, I'm putting it up on the screen right now for you.
We don't have
I'll
a
put it in the
screen.
chat.
Sorry, we're up at the.
Let
I
me read it
don't
off
even
to you,
have
too.
that.
I'll send it to you,
Okay.
Eva. Eva, I'll text it to you.
And I will also put it on the Homeport website as well. So we'll put it on the Homeport page as well for you, and then you'll be good there.
Thanks. Oh, we don't have.
Can you guys see the screen?
I think you should still read it out. Just in
Thank you for all
Just
you
make
guys'
sure
help.
Can you see the screen now or no?
Yes.
Okay. So just for those who are on the phone that can't see it, the email, and I'm just going to spell it out phonetically, so that way you have it spelled out. So it's I don't know if you know it's phonetic. I'll just spell it out with letters, actually. Sorry, that's my military coming out of me. So sector, so SEC, Hono, HONO, TAC, which is the line in the middle between, like it's the dash sign, IMT, as in Tom, dash SITL at USCG .ON Microsoft .com. I know that was tough. It's not the easiest email, and I apologize, but that's what we get.
Wow,
But we will
sorry
put it on
about that.
Homeport. We will put it on Homeport. I promise you. Just a little joy in the moment for everybody laughing at me for spelling out on you. Sec-Hono, IMT Siddle at USCG on Microsoft.com.
Good job, Eric. Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you. The next engagement to close, please, and I'll just say thank you, and then I'll let Eric close with a conversation about next engagement.
Yeah, I think the best choice. Let's get through the weekend, so let's reconvene. Maybe let's do the same time Monday, if that works for everybody. And we can get through the weekend. I'll have some great imagery of all the vessels and things like that. We'll probably have things happening Monday morning with your insurance adjusters and things like that, some conversations. So stay tuned to Homeport for more information in case things change. And stay pulsed in with Lieutenant Christina at the MST. But we'll be working diligently through the weekend, and we will reconvene in this format on Monday evening at 5 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Pictures were taken today of the marina. Those were today's photos.
Okay, thank you. That's super helpful in understanding the position of our vessel. Appreciate that.
I'm so sorry. I
you sure you
tried
wanna
to
work for this?
hide under.
I love this. What are you talking about? Mayor Ferguson and
You know how to do this stuff anyway?
And he asked
Well, I'm doing it anyways.
You can't stay away from this.
You can't.
You just got a job with the National Strike Force out there.
I don't want that. I want that rack job from Letty when I'm done with this job. Oh, man, that'd be dope.
Find out how,
Well, thank you, brother. We appreciate you.
Yeah, brother. How that went.
One team, one fight, that one,
Sure.
in the evening,
If that's
afternoon.
possible, yeah, we're